Okay, well, today is the first day of school again for me. Now my first day of architecture school, which is kind of fun. So today I don't really have my studio class, but I have a lecture class at 1:30. Have some online classes that I need to check in with. So yeah. Okay, so I'm home. That wasn't obvious, I guess, right? My first class only lasted 30 minutes today because we were just kind of going off of the syllabus, and well, like, the syllabus takes maybe like 10 minutes to understand. Anyways, I didn't film because of social anxiety, but hopefully I'll be able to film a little bit Thursday, maybe. I don't know. Not gonna lie, I don't know what else to do for the rest of that. Alright, so it's currently 6:52 a.m. Don't focus on me, focus on there. 6:52 a.m. in the morning. And I'm at, you can't really see it, but right there the building is UTSA. It's the first day of studio class. I'm pretty excited for it, so I'm gonna get in there. We're in a new studio, which I'm gonna show you. So I'm just really excited. So yeah. Walking right now. I probably should have brought an extra jacket. It's really windy, it's really cold. Man, I almost want to run to class. I almost want to do it, but I'm not. Oh my God, it's so cold. Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm here. I have my stuff all set up. It's quiet. It's 7:13 right now. Class starts at 8, so it's gonna be interesting to see when people start showing up. But the view is amazing. Look at this. Hold up. Brand new view. I did not have this last semester, so it's pretty nice. I'm excited. Let's get this started. Alright, so I'm here back at the school. It is 7 o'clock. See it? 7 o'clock. It's rainy outside, which isn't fun. It's rainy and it's cold. But we're here. We're gonna get the work in, some class in. We're kind of finished with what we needed to do. So I don't know what we're gonna do today. But yeah. Alright guys, so I'm tired and it's late, but I really want to explain to y'all some of this project for this video, obviously, since that's what it's about. So this is the first project of the semester, and it's only a 4-week project. So the project for this is an urban infill in the city of San Antonio, specifically in downtown. The objective is to develop a comprehensive design for an urban infill project that integrates a public garden and a cultural hub with an identified underutilized space in an urban area. And I love the idea of this project, actually. So shout out to my professor, Professor Ali, for giving us this project. I think it's a great idea. Last semester, and really my entire college career up to this point, we've just been focusing on structure, which, duh, we're architecture students, so we probably should, but when we get something different like this, an urban infill, it's pretty exciting because, the thing is that being architecture students, we're going to be doing structures our whole lives. And so, doing something a little bit outside the box is really fun. And definitely, being in the architecture job market, you're gonna run into stuff like this. It's not going to be just skyscrapers and houses and stuff like that. So if definition of an urban infill refers to the development of a vacant or underused land with existing urban areas, unlike expansion on the outskirts of a city. infill focuses on utilizing spaces within the city's existing framework. So we were split into a couple groups. We were split into 3 groups. Basically, what we needed to do was we needed to locate other urban infills already in downtown San Antonio and just kind of use them as examples to get our heads going for this new project. And so, here we could see all the people in the group. Shout out to them. With me, I did the Hemisphere Park. The Hemisphere Park is one of my favorite areas in all of San Antonio, and I just really like the structures that are being used here, and just I talk about a little bit more the green spaces and landscaping and the water conservation. I think all of it is just really smart, and the thing I like about it is that it's going to be expanded in a couple of years to where it's going to look something like that. Hopefully, oh, my screen can't see it. Where it's going to hopefully look something like this, which is going to be pretty exciting. And I'm pretty hyped for it. And so something else that the professor wanted us to do was he wanted us to go out to a random, open area in the city, and whichever of the 3 groups had the best site that we would choose, is where the project is going to be done. And so we went to this site, which is this big open area, really cool space. It's right next to a river and dam. I'll show a little bit of pictures that I took when I was there. And luckily, it was chosen as the site. And so over here, we get a little bit into the site analysis, which this is more personal now. And so this is the sun path and orientation. Obviously, in architecture, sun path and orientation is such a huge thing. Talk a little bit about elevations here and the prevailing wind, microclimate, topography. And, I think it's good. This is great for anybody who wants to go into architecture, because it's the stuff that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to figure out the sun path. You're going to have to figure out elevations. You're going to have to figure out prevailing winds and the microclimates and the topography of an area. Obviously, neighboring buildings are very important. And, maximizing the views, sites and services around the area, all that cool stuff. So that's basically the main stuff that we've been working on this past 2 weeks. So cold. So cold. Okay, so by this point, again, we're about 2 weeks into the project, and we've just been focusing on the site context and the site. And if you remember me saying that this project is a 4.5-week project, so we're almost halfway through it, and we really haven't even started on concepts, just to kind of show you how fast this next process is going to be moving. So I want to kind of talk about my concepts a little bit. So I came up with 3 inspirations of, the ideas and kind of where my head was going. So for the first one, it was over a chessboard, and how I got it when looking at the site from an aerial view. The site almost is perfectly square, and so it immediately reminded me of a chess set. For the second inspiration, being a diehard NBA fan, I analyze every player on the court. I have a deep love and passion for the game that I take to inspire me in everyday life. And so that was just kind of the idea behind it. But the one that I ended up going with was this hand design. And so how I got it is I have a fashion designer friend who currently goes to UNT in Dallas. I texted him asking for inspiration for the project, and he sent me this picture. And from that, I kind of went into conceptual ideas and drawing. This was the 30-second sketch right here. Then I just started working on the ideas of a hand and kind of how, this could be made into a structure, into an urban infill. And you can kind of see here with Concept Design 3, these little bubble diagrams that fit in as, places where you could go on the hand and things like that. concept model right here. And then over here is this conceptual draft of how it would look like, you know? Next, I'm going to be showing you in Revit, and you can kind of see how close and similar this came to being. And so this whole conceptual phase was about a week. It was about a week. And so that meant that we have a week and a half to design this in Revit, model it, and create a poster and present it. 6:36 in the morning. Wait. Okay, so next, talking about Revit. So my building's pretty much being covered, you can't really tell. So again, I really only had like a week to work on this. Really only had like a week. And it turned out insane. Turned out super good. So here I'll show you at a ground floor level of what it looks like. Yeah, I mean, just I was able to get this super detailed, and really just customize it the way that I wanted to. A lot of work went into it, and I'm gonna be explaining later, because I'm gonna be showing all the actual presentation of each, you know, purpose of of each building, and what's happening over here, the connection to the river, everything like that. And there's just so much into it that this video would be 30 minutes long if I try to explain everything, you know. And so but the process of this was crazy. It was insane, but a lot of fun. Had fun with it. Came out really good. Okay, ready? All right, hey everybody. So I'm David. For those that don't know, for this project, it's called Majority's Hand, and I'll get into a little bit of the reasonings why I call it that. But for everybody that wasn't here during the site context, I'm just going to go over it just a little bit. So the title was, you know, to create a public garden and a cultural hub. The objective was to develop a comprehensive design for an urban infill project that integrates a public garden and a cultural hub within an identified underutilized space in an urban area. The project aims to enhance community engagement, contribute the cultural and social vitality of the area, and demonstrate sustainable urban practices. Here are some pictures of, this is from Google Maps, and then these are some of the pictures that I took of the surrounding buildings and the dam that's there, which played a pretty big part in it. And of course, you know, the land is pretty flat for the most part. So when going to my inspiration, you know, I kind of have this big thing of art inspires art, and I kind of wanted to bring it towards this project. And so my inspiration is from a clothing brand by a local artist, Christian Williams, who's also a really good friend of mine. I've known him for maybe a decade to this point. So, you know, he created this brand to help those and inspire those who are afraid to step out of their comfort zone, to take risk, to unconform from their existing beliefs, and encourage freedom of thought, to inspire those to be a part of the low majority. And that was kind of the whole
point of the reason why he created this brand about 2 years ago now, and these are some of the pictures of his clothing, which I'm also wearing today. And so I told him when we were going into this project, hey, can you send me some ideas of the stuff that you've been working on recently? And so he sent me this picture of a hand, and the mission was to be one with yourself, and I really like the design of that. And I like the idea of this hand being integrated in a cultural hub. And so when going to concepts, I think I explored the idea of more of that hand shape more. Of course, these are some concept designs of some iterations. This was a 30-second sketch that I did, and then of course practicing some hand sketches at home and just figuring out what could I do with the space of a hand, you know. Here are some concept models, which we have here, of just playing with what I could do. And then ultimately that went into a concept draft that was integrated in the site. Maybe having some decks here and how I could use the fingers as structure to incorporate with my building while also making it sustainable. And so going back to the name Majority's Hand, I want something that, you know, was for, you know, locals here in San Antonio, but also for tourists. And so going into my concept statement, I want to create a statement with this project. I wanted to create something that felt powerful to those who experienced my creation. And so in the heart of San Antonio Urban Pulse, this sustainable urban infill project is a testament to the functional diversity and environmental harmony coming from the shape of a hand. Each building serves a unique purpose, which is seamlessly integrated with the hand as if emerging from the earth, while prioritizing accessibility to empower dynamic, interconnected community. This architectural project redefines city living, fostering a sustainable and inclusive urban experience. And that's what I wanted to create with this project. Going to the floor plans, I have it designated here as thumb, index, middle, ring, and pinky, but it's a lot more than that. So, and this thumb-shaped structure is more of a performance area, and it's also the lobby where you can enter in, and from the parking lot. It's the closest building to the parking lot. So it's most likely going to be where people enter in first. And then with the index finger, it's a vendor space for vendors to go in and out throughout the month. Maybe they're selling clothing one month, maybe they're selling jewelry one month, selling various different things, and you know, I wanted local people to occupy this building. For the middle is a gallery, and so I wanted to incorporate the idea of local artists once again, since I got my inspiration from a local artist. And so basically playing with the idea of, you know, that local artists would come here, sell their art that you could buy. If you've ever been to First Friday at, what is it, Blue Star? Yeah, on the first Friday of every month, they have a similar process like this where, you know, they have an art gallery where local artists come by there and they sell their local art. And it's very interesting. I went there for the first time during the month of January, and I just thought it was incredibly interesting. I never saw anything like that. And the ring in the finger is this kitchen. You know, going to the site plan a little bit, which I'll probably go back and forth to. So this is St. Mary Street, Brooklyn Avenue. There's a taco place right here, hotel that's over here, and a couple of businesses. And so, of course, I don't want to take away local businesses, so this would most likely be, you know, something else besides a Mexican restaurant. And then and the pinky is a cafe. We have these decks that are kind of meant to represent the palm of the hand. Now I'll get into that a little bit more. But with the south deck is more for leisure, more for relaxing, and so I created, you know, kind of this viewing area where there's a big screen TV, and then a render, there's this projector that would go out and play movies, kind of similar to if you go on to the Pearl on a Tuesday night, they'll be playing a movie there. I think during December I went there and they were playing the Grinch. So just stuff like that. And then we have some seating areas, a bar area. And then with this north deck, it's more for, you know, activity and for, you know, for that activity. And so, you know, we have a kids play area where it would be these water fountains, very similar to how the Pearl is. If you've ever been to the Pearl during the spring or summer, they have those, you know, water fountains for kids to play. Pickleball courts. So if you don't know pickleball, it's a pretty big growing sport. It's a little bit like tennis for those who haven't played. But there's only, I think, one place in all of San Antonio to play pickleball. So I thought adding a central area and downtown to do that would be a kind of a fun experience. And then we have some ping pong tables there. Going back to the site plan, here I wanted space to be, these are all green roofs right here as the structure, and I want that space to be, you know, be able to walk on. You know, I want you to be able to experience that space, and so through part of this area, you would be able to walk on that and experience the greenery, and things like that. Let's go to some elevations just so you can kind of get more of a perspective of what it looks like through the facades of the building. These are some sections. So here's one of the first renders where it's cut through the building, really unique way, and it kind of shows how it acts here. But you know, I won't go too much into it. Just to talk about a little bit about lighting, a little bit. Most of the windows are facing indirect light, so indirect light is really good. But you know, I want some to be able to get through that direct light, so I created, you know, these open windows that light could come in, but it also acts as a ventilation system. Going to some interior renders and perspectives. Here's that thumb where it would be that performance area, that index finger where, you know, it would be for local vendors to, you know, sell things, and then that ring finger is where that restaurant is, and of course you can kind of see how that light is let in. This is more in the afternoon, this is in the morning. And some exterior perspectives. I think I wanted the structures to feel like they're a part of the land itself. I almost wanted to feel like the fingers or the buildings were extruded upwards, and they now act as buildings. And so that's kind of why I chose this adobe-like material as the exterior material, to have that earthy feel to it. And of course, for the green roofs to have greenery, these decks to be made of wooden decks. And something that I also haven't talked about is this passageway that brings you throughout the building, that, you know, you can go into a lot of different metaphors of the hand carrying the local citizens of San Antonio while they walk on it. It's a bike route that could travel, you know, throughout the river that's there. And then of course some documentation. If you don't know, I'm a videographer, so I tend to video a lot. So, you know, I decided to you know, open up a TikTok, Instagram. I do a little YouTube. So yeah, that's my project. Thank you. I'll go to the second.
Well, David, and having seen a couple of, I think, your final presentation last semester, you've gotten good kind of at telling us a story,
right?
Albeit it was blocked. It was blocked. This one was a little bit more succinct, right? So you lost kind of the jitters a little bit. I think it's the setting too. We're kind of in an alcove. Last time we were right at the corner. Yeah. So the setting, I think, is more conducive to this type of presentation. So I mean, I like your thinking there in terms of the cradling, right? This hand becoming something that is pulling people in. Sometimes you have to be careful with having something so literal. Yeah. So last year, I think it was last year, I don't know if you went to that lecture, and off the top of my head, I forget the architect's name, He's from, actually he's one of our UTSA alumni, but he's a construction manager and multi-million projects, $1 million projects. He had a project that he was overseeing, I believe in Australia.
Right.
And their conceptual underpinnings was this of outreach.
Right.
So they were looking at the hand in terms of the digits of that.
Right.
But the building ended up not looking so
literal.
hand-like.
Right. And so I'll say it, you know, that was a little bit of a worry that I had with it becoming so literal. You know, I think first semester, we're kind of taught to not make a duck, right? That's what we've been told. But I thought that, you know, kind of stepping away from that and to kind of create something that, you know, is innovative. And again, that statement, I wanted to create something that felt powerful, that, you know, that gave that statement. I think if you're looking at it from an aerial perspective and, you know, you look at San Antonio either as a local or as a visitor, I think your eye is going to be immediately drawn to it, which I want to do.
But we don't always look at it unless we're a bird or a drone, right? We're not.
Exactly. I think at a human scale, you can't really. It's hard to understand that.
So I don't mind the fact that it's becoming a little too literal.
Yeah.
Because once he pointed out that building in Australia,
yeah,
he started to see their inspiration.
Right.
What I would say going forward is to differentiate that and say, okay, instead of saying the pinky is for the cafe and the thumb is for, is that if we're in this landscape and I'm standing down here,
right? Well,
I have no idea of
exactly
the designer's intention.
Exactly.
I just know that I'm being called to this space.
Yeah.
And I want to go inhabit the palm.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's a palm. I'm just going there because it's pulling me in.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is these 5 digits, I think, have opportunity to perhaps differentiate themselves in terms of the program.
Right.
Why is this so similar to that? In fact, all 5 of them are so similar. Well, maybe these 4.
Right. Yeah.
So similar. So when I'm across the river, or I'm over here on this other street, Brooklyn Avenue, wherever I'm at,
right,
I start to say I want to go there because it's draped in a different way, or I see the band playing out here, or instead of just having the internal theater,
right,
this whole thing becomes a new screen where they're displaying an open air a screen, right? So now this one starts to take on a programmatic function that is different than this. So all of these little pop-ups, they're nicely attuned to all of them, but should all of them have a different take on your program? Because you did all that work in generating that program, you might as well make it to where they differentiate.
Yeah, and I think if this was more of that like 6-week project, you know, 7 weeks, I could develop that a little bit more.
Yes, but then you have. So what I'm saying, guys, is from the get-go,
right?
Because we literally are only gonna have 6 weeks coming back. From the get-go, you said, "This is my idea. My idea is the hand, but within that hand, within these 5 digits, there's got to be distinct proposals within each one."
For sure. Yeah, no,
so
I completely agree with your perspective.
I think this is really close to like doing what you wanted. So that's kind of my first one. I like how this one is starting to become linkage to the river. I think that's the one critique I had that I didn't quite.
Yeah, I want to link with that river and the dam. You know,
starting to do that. I think it could take one more step forward as well in terms of that reflecting pool.
Right.
You know, all the rage in the magazines in the last 20 years are these infinity pools that don't make sense, right? They put an infinity pool in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's their faux, they're fake, right?
Yeah.
It gives the impression that you're looking over. Well, this is an opportunity to truly create that infinity look. So when you're standing here in perspective, right, imagine this thing starts to tear us down, as opposed to right now, it's just, again, it's literally, I don't know if you looked at that's what it seems like. Well, why stop it there? Create that entire linkage to the bloodline, if you will, which is the river. So I think that was really close too. I just think that this linkage had opportunity to really step down and engage the river as opposed to stopping there.
Okay.
I enjoy the community outreach portion of it. Again, instead of creating this boundary here, I think this high line, this skyline, this pedestrian bridge, this walkway, it's doing a disservice a little bit to these beautifully rendered. If we go to some of these right now, right. So these great, and I agree with you. I love this. The softness of the material. Right? But then you just like plop this thing down. So either it gives it space vertically, or it's like nestled within. So can this one start here, and then it hits that one? Does it pierce through it? What if this digit was taller for whatever reason?
Well, because
and then it pierces through that space.
Right, because a lot of trouble that I had was making it ADA accessible. You know, making it functional.
Yeah.
You know, so that was kind of the trouble I had with it.
The tackling of that was to create just one long ramp, but you have to be able to manage both of those hardships.
Yeah.
I know it's quite difficult. I was at a Design 2 presentation yesterday, and Mauricio truly gave them a 30-degree slope, and half the class struggled with it. And the excuse was, well, I couldn't figure out the 8. I think your project takes precedent over that. Of course, it's got to remedy that 1 to 12 at minimum ramp slopage. But I just think whether we look at it here or we look at it in perspective or in model, you're capping that experience of these digits coming up and truly being celebrated.
Yeah.
You know? You're doing it. Look at that. That to me is more powerful, just because there's separation there.
Yeah.
You know, I want if I'm walking up this great terrace, I don't want my final look to be this parapet wall feeling. And I want it to be of the city.
Right. You would only be able to walk on these first sections right here, just because you know the ramping up.
I mean, kids from
bushes. Hopefully they're tall enough to resist that stepping over.
Go up there, right?
No, I get that. I get
what
that.
You're saying, but if you wouldn't have told me that this thing wants to be, it doesn't mean all of them.
Yeah.
It means that, again, going back to the program, one becomes hierarchical. It becomes the celebratory one that's the overlook.
Just that struggle, kind of with the design aspect and functionality of it. It's a battle to balance those.
Yes. So I think going forward, you're good at telling the story. You're good at coming up with an idea, and I love
the inspiration.
So a lot of times that's what students struggle with. So you're able to do that pretty quickly. I would, at the beginning of the next project, try to iron those things out and say, okay, what is my intention? It's almost like you have to put yourself in a time machine, go forward 4 or 5 weeks and say, okay, what did I maybe miss the boat on this one, on the Anderson one last semester on, and then and just knock that out at the beginning, and then it frees you to essentially design for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's pretty impactful. I think a little bit too short term, in the days to follow.
That's the camera. You're in the age of wanting to. I wish I had documented more. I'm not a big technology person, but in terms of documenting stuff, once you write it down, it stays there. Once you document it, it stays there. Keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
What I would say is your short-sightedness in terms of that. You also need to have some long-sightedness, far-sightedness.
For sure. Right? No, I totally get that.
So you're thinking 2 or 3 weeks in the future, so it doesn't come back to bite you a little bit in terms of not thinking about those things. Okay, good there, David.
All right, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate it.